Okay, Katherine Grace is a multi-award winning business coach and trainer, originally starting out in franchising where she held several national management roles, including Jim's Group National Office Manager at age 20, and being decidedly not corporate in approach. In 2006, Katherine found her calling as a business coach specialising in the commercial trades and manufacturing sector. She has won several awards for business coaching, including the FCA Franchising with Women of the Year runner-up and Best Client Results for over 1,800 coaches in Australia, Asia Pacific and globally. Regarded as an extremely down-to-earth, non-corporate and examples-based coach and speaker, Katherine regularly gives up her time to speak to business owners. With 23 years experience in construction and trade, she has been engaged by the HIA for over 13 years as a trainer and presenter, along with SPASA and other associations and franchise groups, and has spoken to over 7,000 business owners to date. Katherine writes for national magazines, including 6 years for Business Franchise Magazine, and presents training for some of Australia's best-known industry organisations in several sectors, including health, construction, franchising, and B2B. Katherine has co-authored 3 editions of the Business Franchise Guide Handbook. Katherine owns several businesses, enjoying the ride of being in business and creating the systems and team to make the business work for the owner, for the team, and to make some sort of difference in the world around them. Her businesses include startup franchises and standalone businesses ranging in turnover from $250 to approximate 1.5 million, and with up to 35 staff. During a career break to manage her 3-year-old son's intensive cancer treatment, Katherine gained insight into the true power of people and sharing a powerful message, as well as how to deal with the media, personally raising over $350,000 in funds in an 8-month period to access a trial in New York. She applies her life experience along with examples for coaching businesses for over 13 years to give her clients a unique understanding about life's priorities, clear direction, encouragement and accountability, and practical proven examples on what to do next. Katherine has availability for business coaching clients and speaking engagements. However, she only works with a very small number of one-on-one clients, since the success of a coaching relationship depends on fit as much as anything else. And she's looking for clients in the commercial sectors that, whether they are currently successful or not, are good people, resilient in nature, and a positive outlook. I will now hand this over to Katherine.
Wow, thank you. So I was expecting just the short version of that. So she's really done me a massive service and been very generous with her introduction. I'll talk a little bit about the businesses that I have, and hopefully just in a way that relates to you guys as well. If you want to unmute yourself, you can stay hidden on webcam if you like. But if you do want to unmute yourself at any point, and either interrupt me if I'm not making sense, or share something that's a little bit different with your business. In your sector, we can range all the way up from a sole operator that's selling uniforms in a mobile environment all the way up to quite large businesses dealing with a lot of corporate. So it's good for me to I will try and apply some examples that I know from dealing with some businesses in similar sectors. But if I know a bit more about you, I can also start to share some examples that might be more relevant. So if you feel like I'm off track in relevance, it's because I don't know the mix of which types of businesses within your sector that we have, because it can be a big gamut, right? So please, either whether you type through the chat and either I'll be able to pick it up that way, or if you want to jump on and share some stuff about the size of your team or the type of clients you deal with, that's always really helpful to me. What I'm going to do today is talk a little bit about creating a business plan, but I think I would add a caveat by saying now is not an amazing time to be planning a long-term business plan for many businesses in many different sectors, and yours included. And so we've got kind of a combination of, I want to teach you the theory of how to put together a business plan that you're actually going to use and things that have worked for me and worked for my clients. But I also want to acknowledge that right now, you may not be looking to do a massive business plan that goes for 3 or 5 years. You might just need a management plan for the next 6 or 8 weeks. So you might have your business plan that we're still looking at regularly, and we've got things in there that we want to do. But you also might have a management plan that is, what are we doing in the next 2 months in terms of looking after the team? What are some of the things that we can do at the moment, and all of that. So I want to talk about both today, because I know this would be not always a great time to talk about a long-term business plan, and that's fine. We're small business and medium business, we can adapt. Heather, did you have something that you wanted to add to that? Or are you just happy to be available? I'm just going to go with happy. I'm going to share my screen now. Now, what I've done for this presentation is I've taken it from one that I've done for a couple of other associations, and I've tried to make it, put some relevant examples in for you guys. There's parts of this that I'm going to go slow on, and there's parts of this that I'm going to race through because I've just created those slides to be a reference point for you to go back to. They're like a checklist. So I don't need you to read them on the screen per se, but then when Ida sends you the slides later, you're going to be able to have them with you. So I'll flick through some really quickly and others I'll spend a long time on, and it's not because I'm running out of time, it's quite deliberate. So I'll just share my screen now. Can we see that? Ida, can you thumbs up if you can see it? Yep, awesome. So, you know, what we're looking at is what can we do with the balance of the year, because the absolute worst thing, and I'm sure you've all learnt this in business anyway, the absolute worst thing we can do is do nothing. So hopefully I can give you, if not a complete magic wand and a roadmap for how to navigate the rest of this year, my aim is to give you just a couple of things that you can take away and do something with. And if I can give you just a couple of things that you go, okay, yep, that makes sense. That's not complete BS. I think I can do that. And maybe give you a little bit of a feeling like there is something that you can do that's proactive, then I'll be happy. That's pretty much my goal. So some of the things that we're going to cover today, so I'm going to give you like the checklist that I spoke about, which is sort of a like a self-assessment to go through your business. And now is a great time to do that. You've sort of got this forced pause button, so you can take stock of your business and make sure that the business you're planning after this is that little bit better than what you've had in the past, you know. You've got a bit of breathing room. We're talking about how to set some goals that actually mean something. Focus on what you can do right now. An idea of a business plan, so like I've said, or a management plan. So for me, a management plan is kind of a, what are we doing right now in this unusual time? And a business plan is something that more is in place no matter what happens. We'll talk about a little bit about KPIs, and at the end I'm going to go through some suggestions about some of the things that you can look at doing at the moment. So hopefully that sounds okay. Now, Ida mentioned this a little bit in her intro, but I did want to talk about this quickly, which is why I have chosen, and I've done a few different things, including running a marketing business, but why I have chosen to do business coaching and tell you a little bit about that. And so I suppose to explain this more fully, like Ida said, I'm very non-corporate. I have, you know, and some of you will be far more corporate than me, and I am very jealous and admire that, but I'm really not comfortable in that corporate environment. I've grown up through small business, and I've grown up through franchising, which is just a collection of small businesses basically. And I have, through that, learned how to be a teacher for adults that work in small and medium business. And I guess that's the thing that I love and I have learned. And when I first started doing this job, that was really why I did it, because I really loved, particularly I've done a lot with construction and builders and trades and franchising through the trades and services. And I've particularly found, if I single out builders for the minute, that they don't get told anything during their apprenticeship about how to run a business. And I found that if I went out and spoke to them and taught them some stuff that actually made sense and that wasn't full of fluff and theory, that it would help them and help their families. And that really meant a lot to me, because you see lots of horror stories in those industries of people that have lost things financially, health-wise, mentally. So that's why I did this for a long time. And then I stopped and had kids. I moved to regional Victoria, and I stopped and had kids, and I started up my marketing business, which was really just because I couldn't see clients face to face. And back then, that was something that was really important, especially to tradies. So I started this marketing business so that I could do that while I had kids. And then I moved back to town, and I finally got, I think my son had just turned 3, my younger son, and I thought I'm going to get back into business coaching because I can finally do that and he'll be okay at childcare, et cetera, et cetera. And in a classic 1 step forward, 2 steps back, just after his 3-year-old birthday, he got diagnosed with cancer. And it was quite a severe one, quite aggressive. It's called neuroblastoma, and there's a 50% survival rate. So I only tell you that for the purposes of saying what happened at that point was everything, and I was a bit of a workaholic. I was putting the kids to bed, getting the laptop out. Everything that I knew about my business changed overnight. And over the course of about 2 months, I realized that I could not keep business coaching. I didn't have the mental energy. I didn't have the time. I needed to be flexible, that kind of stuff. But what happened, which I was really not expecting, was that the marketing business that I'd set up on the side that had contractors working in it was what took care of me, because I didn't need to work in that business. It was run passively. It was generating me a modest income, and that business continued to run without me having any input. And so I realized, after all the dust settled and we raised all the money, and I finally got back to business coaching, I realized that that was really what I wanted for my clients, was that if something happened in their life, that the business would take care of them, you know. And as much as at the moment, this current period with everything that's happening in the world is about you taking care of your clients and you taking care of your team, it's also about making sure that your business is still strong and will take care of you, you know. Like, fit your own oxygen mask first. It's about making sure that the business is still there and can take care of your family first, and then your team second, and your clients, you know, but always you as the owner, because you're the one that's put in the hard yards. So that's why I do what I do, to make sure. This is my son. He's all doing well now, by the way. He's just turned 6. He's at school, or he's at homeschool next door. But, you know, like I say, I just want everyone to have that if something like that happens, that the business will take care of you, because it is not great to also have financial worries at the same time. And I know that from meeting lots of other families in that situation. So what I would ask, and this is something to think about now just as much as any other time, and then you should have more thinking time at the moment, right? So what is the reason? What is the reason? And if you talk to a normal coach that's a little bit more fluffy, they might talk about what's your why and that. But I want to know, what is the point of you doing this? Why are you here? Why are you wanting to learn about planning to make your business better? And that's commendable that you're here, because I know if you're here that you already run a good business. They always go together. If you're looking for more training, then I know that you run a good business. But why are you here? What makes you want to be a business owner, and what do you need out of that? So I want you to think about that, because at the end of the day, that's what the business is there for. So just to kind of frame what I'm going to go through, this is what I call the grumpy uncle slide. And I don't think anyone else calls it that, but that's just what I call it. And what I mean is, when you go to a family gathering and then there's this one grumpy uncle in the corner, and you go, "How are things going, Uncle Barry?" And he goes, "Terrible. You know, the government's not giving me a break, and the neighbors are making all this like racket, and I can't concentrate. I'm so tired, and everything's against me. And there's just a lot going on that's not Uncle Barry's fault, that's causing Uncle Barry to have this terrible life, right?" And you'll find that there's always, these people tend to stand out, these negative Nellies. So you go to the pub, or you go to a family thing, or even, you know, dare I say it, in some of these associations, or you go to workshops and things, and you'll notice there's always that one person that's a bit negative. And what you will generally find with that person is there's one of 3 things going on, particularly in business. And these are those. So usually the reason that Uncle Barry's not going great, someone or something else is to blame. So that might be the economy, or it might be the neighbors, or it might be the staff, or it might be the partner. There's usually something or someone to blame. If there isn't, Uncle Barry will start getting into excuses. Yes, but that's because of blah. And if you get really down to the bottom of it, once you run out of people to blame and you run out of excuses, that we can hit a stage of denial. So I spoke to someone not that long ago that said to me, "I run a really great business." This genuinely happened. This is not part of my story. Probably 2 weeks ago, "I run a really great business, but I haven't paid myself in 2 years." So that for me is getting into the point of denial. It's not a good business if it's not paying you, and it's not a good business if it's not making a profit, right? So the thing with all of these things, if you think about your Uncle Barry, right, is all of those things are external. So whatever he's blaming or the excuses that he's making are always external. So you look at businesses, and if they're saying the economy's not great, or the weather's not great, or it's because of the GFC, or it's because of it's the end of financial year, or whatever these reasons are, they're two things. They're external and they're also true. And here's the thing, they can be true or not true. It doesn't matter if they're in your head or they actually are true. COVID's true. You know, the end of financial year is true. All of these things are valid and exist, but they are, the fact remains that they're still external. So what happens is, if we are waiting for the external things to change before our lot will get better, we have no control at all. So we just have to sit around and wait for those things to pass before we can make any difference in our business. So what I want to do is have you thinking about how is there some ways, and again, acknowledging that those things are valid. We've had people that have lost family members in their business and stuff. It's a valid thing that's happened and it affects you. But at the end of the day, if we wait for that to resolve before anything happens, we're just tired. We're just sitting here with not being able to act. So we want to think about what are some of the little chinks, you know. I can't remember who it was, but one of the business writers said, if you have a problem, write down 12 different things that you could do to fix it. And out of those 12, at least 2 of them will be possible for you to do. So it's sort of going, what are the few little chinks that we can do where we can be accountable, or we can take ownership of change, of doing something. Might not be even changing the situation. It might be working around the situation, which I know a lot of you have been doing really well, but what can we do to impact the situation ourselves? So the question being, we have all this going on, and we're now sitting here to talk about business planning. So the big question we need to ask ourselves for that is, what can I do? We know lots of things that we can't do. So we now need to be looking at what are the things that we can do. The second thing I wanted to show you is this one, which I'll go through fairly quickly, and I'm happy to go through it another time or by email or whatever. But this is just to say, first of all, congratulations for being on a webinar, and I'll explain why. But if you look at someone else that's in business that's doing better than you, and every business owner knows someone in business that's doing better than them that they look up to, you'll generally think that their life's better than yours. So they've got better work-life balance, they've got better income, they've got better downtime, all that kind of stuff. This is why, because their results so far have been better than yours, right? But why have their results been better than yours? Is it luck? Generally not. It's what they've done. So they've taken actions that have probably been slightly better than yours. So that's all well and good. Okay, but how do we know how to take those actions? Well, we know what actions we take because of what we decide. We make a decision and then we do something, right? How do we know what to decide? Well, we need to ask a question. And then how are we deciding what questions we ask? It's the quality of what we can believe to be true. So what I'm saying by that is, if you don't know that it's possible to work a 35-hour week when you own a business, if you can't see that and believe that, you're never going to ask the question, how can I work a 35-hour week? Does that make sense? And if you don't ask the question, you're never going to be able to figure it out and then take the actions to do it. So it always starts with what you can see to be possible. And what you know to be possible is going to be to do with the level of your knowledge. So that's what I'm saying. You come on a webinar like this, you're going to learn new stuff, and that is going to change your perception of what's possible for you. And therefore, it'll change what you do, and it'll change the result you get. So the first step is always, if you're feeling stuck, or you're feeling like you just can't see where the next step is for you, is either speak to someone else as a mentor or go and get some education. So again, just to say, you know, congratulations for being on today. Okay, so I think, like I've already touched on, you never start, for me, and I'm certainly not traditional, but you never start a business plan without working out your personal goals, because personal goals are always first. Why you're doing the business and what you want to get out of it, for me, is always paramount, before even your team. And your team can be part of this. I've had clients that want to help their team buy houses and all sorts of things, but it needs to be a reason in it for you and your own family. So whether that's, so like I've got here, money, whether that's time, or whether that's a sense of peace. So I'm a little bit different. We talk about what are our SMART goals that we can measure. For me, a goal can also be a feeling. Like, I will have a client that'll have, by the end of this financial year, I'm going to feel like I'm not stressed about money. That's a yes or no question. That's totally measurable in a business plan. Do you feel like you're stressed about money? Yes or no? You know, it doesn't have to be, your personal goals don't have to be, I want to earn $100,000 to buy a caravan and go around Australia. It can be, I want to feel like I'm not sacrificing time with my family for the business or something, right? So it's always what can be, what is the point for us personally? And I'll go through some examples too for you. So the next 1 to 5 years is sort of where we play. What I find is, especially when you do your first business plan, don't try and plan 5 years in advance, because no one knows what they want to be doing then. Just plan where you want to be this time next year. When you climb to the top of that mountain, then you can look around and you can see what the next lot of goals might be. You know, don't feel like you need to have this great grand 5 or 10 year plan that the bank might want you to have. This is about what you're actually doing in the business. Running away from goals. So running away from goals are the most motivating because they're running away from pain. So you'll find it's a lot easier for someone to get motivated to make sure that they can pay off their mortgage so that they don't lose their house than it is to run towards something exciting. So setting up some running away from goals. What are things that we want to avoid? We want to be able to pay off our debts so we don't avoid getting in trouble there. We want to be able to get enough work so we don't have to sack any of our team. That kind of thing is, what can I have in there that motivates me because I don't want what happens if I don't do it. Running towards goals. So like I said, these are exciting things. We want to run towards having something in the business or personally. And the last type of legacy goals. So it's sort of like once you've run away from everything that's painful and once you've run towards everything that's exciting, the only thing that is left is, what can I do for others? And whether that be with your time, whether that be with your money, is what can I do for others? So I like to put, if you're going to set a personal goal, I think that you should make it personal and make it relevant. So I find that setting up an age of your kids, so say this morning I spoke to someone who had a 4-year-old. And so instead of saying, where would you like to be in 3 years? We said, where would you like to be when your child's in their 2nd year of school? And that means something to her now. She can understand, okay, this is how I want my life to look, because I want to be able to go help with the canteen, or I want to be able to do this, that, and the other. So that's a really good way for you to. So like I said, your proof of whether you achieve something can be a feeling or it can be a number. I don't care. It's very rare that I meet someone who wants to earn money for money's sake. So at the moment with COVID, a lot of people have got a plan B for what they need to make to break even. There's a reason behind that. It's not just because I have to hit this number because it's a good number to hit. That not hitting that number has real implications, right? So when this is over and you want to make a business plan and put a number against it, remember that it still needs to mean something. If you want to hit 250 grand a month in sales, or 100 grand in sales, or $250 in sales, whatever, it has to mean something for you other than just hitting a figure. You have to know what you're going to do with it. So my question would be, what personally does the business need to deliver for you? What feeling, what free time, what opportunities, or what money are you going to ask of your business? Because that's the difference between a business and a job, is that you should be able to say, hey, business, I want to have X, Y, Z, and we can figure out a way to make that happen. If you're on a wage, it's just a case of, I've got to wait till I've worked enough hours and worked enough months to get the money to do that. In a business, you're in control of that, but you just need to know what you're after. So I'll give you some examples of business goals. And like I said, some of these are for right now and some of these are for later when COVID lifts. But now is also a good time to be planning, how is my business going to be different later, if that makes sense. So I want you to take it from both angles if I can. This is my health clinics. So my business partner at the front in the maroon dress is a naturopath, and together we own 2 health clinics. We've got about 35 staff across the 2, obviously now all on telehealth. And what we would do every month is we would meet and have a team meeting where we would go through the financials of the business, a whole heap of other stuff, and over our goals. So I wanted to show you that because we had a goal to turn over $1 million in the first clinic, and everyone in the team was invested in that goal. It meant something to everyone in the team. When we hit our little milestones of 100 grand a month, we would do a team lunch or something. And when we hit the million, we had this big party. So there was reasons behind it that everyone was invested. We could buy certain things that we needed. But it just, you know, the difference we had of that energy of the team caring whether we made 100 grand or not versus them just thinking we were trying to make money for money's sake was a big difference. So running away from goals for your business might be things like paying off debts. Running towards goals, I'll give you a couple of examples, but these are things that the business would be saving for, if that makes sense. Your personal goals, I want to have a caravan or I want to have time off. The business is allowed to have its own little wants and needs as well. So the business might want to have a new cash register, or the business might want to have a new marketing campaign or whatever. So the business has its own goals of things that it wants. And legacy goals, which is really your mission statement. So whatever the business wants to do for people other than itself are really your mission statement. What do we want to do for our clients? What do we want to do for charities? Those are the sorts of things that are beyond just the business that can become legacy goals. And like I've said here, get your team on board. So whether that is right now in your management plan for COVID or whether that is later on with a business plan, you would much rather have 10 people putting in 10% than you having to put 100% of your attention into a business plan. You really just want to leverage off having everyone have a little bit of a care factor and a little bit of involvement and a bit of a say too. And whether your team is 20 people with a factory and a sales team or whatever, or whether it's just you and your partner and your children, you want to get everyone enrolled in that either way. Because it's nothing lonelier than you working towards something in your business and not having your family know or be involved in that. Here's some example business goals for sort of similar businesses to your sector, or businesses that have been in your sector that I've worked with, to give you an idea. So securing another large tender can be a goal for a business to have. So I had one client that worked with the Defence Force, and it was securing a new tender that was similar size. Making a certain number of profit to kind of save up. So again, the business has got its savings account, saving up to invest in something new. Becoming national or becoming international, and that is a great one at the moment, especially if you're in Victoria, is how can we put some feelers out in other states. To become a distributor of something new. So I've got a signage client at the moment, and they're looking at bringing something in that's not available anywhere else, and that's really exciting. That's a really great business goal for them. Growing a team, which means that better roles for everyone. So this is a great one to get the rest of your team involved in. I've got a client, and they know when they increase their sales, they can get a receptionist. Now, you want to see how hard the sales reps and the people in the factory work, knowing that they're not going to have to answer the phone anymore, and they're going to have that professional receptionist, because it means as we increase our sales, we get a bigger team, and everyone gets to do more of the bit that they enjoy, that they're high value at. And profits and profit share. So a lot of the businesses that I've worked with, and I'm really proud of that, do profit share. And what that means is that when the business does well, we take a small amount of that profit and we share that amongst the team. And that might be over a month or over 3 months or whatever. And the exciting thing about that is if you're sharing 5% of your profit with the team, guess how much more profit you make because the team cares about the profit share? At least the 5%. So you really can't lose, especially with managers and stuff. You really can't lose because you get that extra little bit of investment anyway. So that's some examples of actual business goals, which I'm happy to talk about individually with you, that businesses in really aligned sectors to yours or actually in your sector have put in their business plans. To finish off, I wouldn't be a business coach if I didn't throw one graph in there for you. That is just to say, and this is fair income, if you write stuff down, you are likely to get it. My clients just work on a Google Doc, which I'll show you at the end. We just have a list of all of our goals, and having them, reviewing them, without fail, makes them happen more, without fail. So I would say write them down, share them with someone, and you're really 90% of the way there. Okay, so I'm going to just take you through a few examples now of whether you're writing a business plan that's for the next 5 years or whether you're writing a management plan that's for the next 6 or 8 weeks. You still need to do this process. It's just that you're doing it with a bit less foresight, if that makes sense. you need to do activity at the moment. Do not do no activity right now. So looking back, why did you get into business? What have you done? What haven't you done? Is something that's worth doing every time you sit down to redo a plan of any sort, because you're recalibrating to say, this is why I'm in the business. This is what I want out of it. Sometimes it kind of gets on top of you, and all the tasks and all the people stuff and the young and the restless, like one of my clients says, all gets on top of you, and you lose sight of why you're doing it. So it's important to remember that. And then I'm going to take you through 5 minutes. So like I said, these are the ones I'm going to flick through fairly quickly because I want you to have the slides anyway. So I'm sure that they can be sent to you. And this is like a little questionnaire. If you're going to do a review of your business, to maybe start looking at where there's some holes. I've got more detailed questionnaires that are massive, but these are kind of the key points, I guess you could say. So work-life balance. And I would say to that 50 hours a week, I would like to see that at 40 actually, as an absolute maximum, because I find if you're involved in sales in any way, shape or form, the more rest you have, the better salesperson you are. So the less clutter, the more sales you'll pick up, if that makes sense. So I would say 40. So work life, leadership. So there's some stuff about how you are leading your team. Team meetings is one that I would harp on and say, if you're not running team meetings, even now, probably especially now, you are probably, that's the single biggest thing to do to make your business succeed. Just introduce those and watch the difference. Sales, there's a few different things that you can check to make sure you're about sales. Marketing. So I'd love you to go back through this after we finished and do a little yes, no, maybe on some of those. And that might just give you an idea of where you might want to focus on both now and in the future building. And then this is like a little single page, which I'm happy to share with anyone if you email me, but it's like a little single page 90-day review. So I work in 90-day plans because I find that 3 months is the right amount of time to get stuff done without it being overwhelming. And every 3 months we do the rear vision mirror and say, how have we gone? And then what needs to change in the next 3 months? And then what's something specific that's going to give us proof that it's changed, right? So right now, for the next 2 months or 60 days, you might have a little mini plan just to get through this period. So again, always start with personal. Personally, what do we want or need? And your role, what do you want to do each day? So I would have people say, in 90 days time, I don't want to be doing any quotes anymore. Or in 90 days time, I want to be taking 2 clients out for lunch. So there were 2 things that came up yesterday in meetings. You know, what do you want your day-to-day job to look like? And that's a great one to tell you where you should be in the business. Then the second part of that is business. So same process. How have the last 90 days gone financially? What needs to change? What are the things that we need to do or specific markers in our team? Generating inquiries, so marketing, winning those inquiries and turning them into work, so sales, and systems. Just gives you, that's a really good little one-pager every 90 days to just reset and keep it really simple. One thing in each area. If you change one thing in each area every 3 months, you are doing so much more than most businesses. And to tie into that, so if you look at, okay, we want 1 marker in each area. So we want our inquiries to go up. Okay, well, what do we want our inquiries to go up by? Okay, we want to get 2 extra inquiries a week. And I have a whole heap of maths that I do with a client to work backwards and figure out so that number actually means something. But I don't even care if you just pick it out of thin air because it's still going to help you. What is something that we want to change in the business in the next 3 months? And then we put a number against it, or we put a feeling against it. As soon as you measure something, it's going to get better. So it's like the watch pot boils, right? And I say this all the time. If we want to increase our inquiries, what do we start doing? Writing down how many inquiries we get every week. So then I'll often say to the person that's taking the inquiries, you're the canary down the well. If you don't have any inquiries for 2 weeks, you let us know so we can fix that marketing and make sure that they're coming in. Because if you realize there's a problem, it's going to be months ahead of us actually having a problem in cash flow, right? So the minute you figure out what it is in your business that you want to improve, put a number against it and start tracking where it is right now, because instantly you're going to start to see an improvement. At the moment, if it's really important, well, I won't say if, because it is. At the moment, it's really important that you continue to do activity. So whether that's marketing, whether that's branding, whether it's social media, whether it's keeping in touch with your clients, whether it's quoting, so you've got tons and tons of quotes that you're sitting on for later. That activity is crucial at the moment. And if you've got staff on JobKeeper, finding them things to do that is like that activity is really valuable as well. Measure the activity because you'll get more out of it that way. How do we measure it? We set these magical things called KPIs, which is probably about as fluffy as I get. And a KPI simply means a number that we're going to measure. There's some examples of some of the areas. And what I've said here, in tougher times, the later things mean more. So what I mean by that is how we are squeezing quotes and making them become sales. How are we doing our aftercare when we sell to a client to get referrals and repeat business? Things that happen further in the chain become more and more important. How are we looking at our margins and our costs and things like that? So all the things that happen later in the chain of how business runs matter more when it's tougher. We want to look at our margins, we want to look at our costs, but we also want to look at how we're looking after our customers, becoming more and more tight on that. Here's some example KPIs. These are nothing particularly sexy or interesting. These are just basic ones to give you an idea. The main thing being, for everything that we do, what's the proof? So if our goal is to work 40 hours or less, I'm happier with that 40, then we could have a default diary that would show that we're planning to work 40 hours or less. And do we stick to that, yes or no? Default diary, if you feel like time management or the hats that you're wearing, or like how you go juggling all the tasks in your business is a problem, email me and I can send you a default diary, which is like a little way of controlling that. But for everything that you're trying to improve, measure it so that it's a watch pot and it gets better. And then where can we find the proof? Where's the report? Where's the number that we're looking at every month to know how we're going? I'm going to show you a quick little bit of maths here. And what I would like to preface this by saying is all this is showing you is the difference of what we call the 1%ers. That if you work on improving little bits in different parts of your business, that's all going to combine to put you a lot further ahead. And so there's some things at the moment that you can't work on. So maybe some of this is a plan for later, for October onwards, but there's other things that you absolutely can get your ducks in a row now for. Absolutely. And I guess that's what I want you to take out of this. The other thing I'd say is that the figures that I've done to show you this working example of the improvements, not for any particular business in your industry, they're just kind of close enough to hopefully feel a little bit relevant, but I'm bearing in mind that we've probably got businesses within your sector that turn over 100 grand and we've got them turn over $10 million or more. So it's horses for courses. This is just an example. So what we want to look at to work on some of the areas, and it's not all of them, but some of the areas that we can work on are things like inquiries. So in this model pretend business, we've got 80 inquiries a year, right? And conversion rate. So we've got two conversion rates in most inquiries. We've got the conversion rate from inquiry to good inquiry, or the conversion rate from inquiry to chuck out the rubbish ones, if that makes sense, plus inquiry worth talking to quote, to sale. So there's lots of different conversion rates along here. So in this model, only 1 in 4 ended up becoming a sale because we probably got 2 out of 4 chucked out altogether. We did 2 quotes and we won 1, or whatever it might be, right? So our conversion rate is 25% for this model. That gives us 20 new clients. Now in your industry, it's not like a builder where you see a client and then you never see them again. You generally hang on to a large amount of your clients. So in your industry, I'm imagining that this particular business that we're modeling started with a bank of 80 clients already sitting in there, right? 80 clients that you've worked for before. So we've got 20 new clients plus we've got the 80 existing. Average sale is 1,800. So that means that if you take all your invoicing for the year and you divide it by how many invoices, it's going to tell you the average. So in this pretend business, the average is 1,800. They're going to have ones that are $95. They're going to have ones that are 20 grand, but their average was 1,800. And then repeat business and referrals. Now, hopefully this is a little bit higher for your industry than some others, or for your business than some others, which is how many times you get a sale out of them in a year. So whether that's a sale for repeat work with them or whether it's a referral to someone else, I'm hoping that this business gets out of 1 client 4 sales for the year. referrals or repeat, I don't care. Which puts the turnover at a little, fairly modest 720 grand, right? So it's a fairly like a little small or medium-sized business in your field. One of the other things we can control is margin. And in this case, the business margin's 12%. And the profit comes to 86.4. So you can see it's kind of a stock standard, probably fits no one on the call, but it gives you an idea of how things work. Now, what we want to do is, instead of just busting our gut to increase inquiries, for example, is we want to focus a little bit in each area. And we want to increase them by 10%. So, oops, that's just giving it away anyway. We'll probably do the same thing on the other side. We want to increase the inquiries by 10%. And conversion rate by 10%. So inquiries, we do a little bit of marketing. Generally, if you do a bit of marketing, your conversion rate goes up, because if you market, you pick the kind of clients you want. Does that make sense? So if you pick the kind of clients you want, they're going to be easier to sell to, generally. Or you get better at sales. So we've got an extra 4 clients. Big deal. Average sale goes up by 10%. Quickest way to do that? 10% price increase. But again, if you've got clients that you've been marketing to and they're better suited to you, you'll tend to be able to have more to sell to them as well. So we're working on what things can we do to get that extra 10% per sale. An extra 1 in 10 gives you an extra sale or an extra person. So you've still got most clients having on average either 4 times they buy off you or giving you a referral to make up the difference. But out of 10 of those, 1 gives you the 5th sale for the year, if that makes sense. That puts the turnover up to 900. Margin by 10%. If we put our prices up by 10%, guess what happened to our profit margin? But otherwise, we're looking at, can we be more efficient? Can we maybe have another income source? All those kind of things. Which puts our profit at 119, which, as you can see, is an extra 33 grand for that year. So not a lot of effort to make that extra 33 grand if you're looking at what are some of those areas that you can improve. And so the only reason I show you that, and you can do the maths on your own business and it always works, is to show you that just a little bit of effort in some areas. And I promise, if you start measuring those, the ones that are in bold, if you started measuring them, some of them are going to start getting better anyway, if you don't already measure them. Just to illustrate, and this is going to give away the profit anyway, but just to illustrate, there we go. This is what happens if you doubled those figures. So that's the same figures. I don't expect anyone to double their figures, but it just tells you the power of it, right? So we double the inquiries. Conversion rate's 50%, probably because most of that extra 80 were marketed to and they're right for us. You got 160 sales clients that year now. Double the average sale. Again, if we're marketing for bigger businesses, that's always a key. Many more repeat purchases. That's probably the one that would be maybe not quite so high. So the turnover is 4.6 million. And again, if you look down those figures on the side, some of them aren't out of the box at all. Some of them seem quite realistic for your industry. Some might be a little bit high, but it just gives you an idea. 24% margin, which would happen with those price increases, and a profit of 1.1. So $1 million different profit by doubling those numbers. So I would just challenge you to pick 1 or 2 of those numbers as things that you could work on over the next, between now and the end of the year. Even being that sales are slower, that still doesn't mean you can't work on your conversion rate. It still doesn't mean you can't work on your sales process. There are still things that you can do, whether it's for right now or getting them ready for later, that are going to focus on making those work better for you. Here's some little, I wanted to show you a couple of examples of how you can make a plan actually stick, because there's nothing worse than putting this effort in and then you show your team, which is even worse, and then you don't do anything with it. And all the time I speak to team members that say, yeah, the boss has done this over and over and over again and nothing's ever happened with it. That can be really disheartening. So how do we make it stick? Number 1 is we break it down. And I'll put quick wins first. So especially if you personally have had times where you've set goals and not achieved them, or the team's seen us set goals and we haven't actually followed through, what's really important is that you get a quick win, is that you get that feeling of, I've set this goal, it's not out of the box, it's pretty realistic, I've set it and we've just achieved it, and now the team has a little celebration. It's really important, just pick something small that you know you can do with a little bit of push, and make sure you celebrate that first, so that everyone gets that feeling of setting something and achieving it. Here's an example of a 90-day plan, and just gives you an idea of, so the things on the left are the things that this client wanted to do in their 90 days. And then the percentage is what percentage they've achieved them. So 10% or 100%, whether they're done or not. And then the other side is the proof that they've been done. So the proof that they've been done. And then the little box that's got the tick in it is so small, but it's so exciting. And it can be such a big deal for the business when we tick that box and say something's been done. So that's just on a Google Doc if you wanted to know how that was set up. Some other things that I find that work really well to make this relevant. And again, if we're talking about a management plan to get through COVID, it is just as important, if not way more, to have a live plan that your team know what's happening through this. Even if you don't know, one of the things on the plan can be figure it out, you know, that can be a task. So we always have a live document online. Keep it as simple as possible, like no more than 3 or 4 things in each department, no matter how big you are. Break it down into time. Make it fun. View it at the team meetings. Have a few on there that the team's really excited about. I had a team, a manufacturer, and they were so excited about the office getting repainted and getting some plants in and getting that environment nice. And that was the goal that they were sharing at the team meeting. Review it at least quarterly, and I would say at the moment your plan might be something that you're reviewing every week. Could be that live, you know. But those things I find really help. And to finish off, I'm going to go through some suggestions, and I guess this is just to say I don't have a magic wand. I can't make your sales double in the next 6 weeks, but I can tell you some things you can do to start getting ready to make yourself have a head start and to kind of come out swinging compared to your competitors, right? Or compared to other people in your sector, or even in the sideline sectors. If you're sitting here now thinking, okay, that's all well and good, I want to do something, but I don't know what, here's some ideas for that, right? So what I'll say, if you have a lesser result, if your sales go down, I will forgive that if you've increased your activity. But if your sales go down and you've also decreased your activity, that's unforgivable for me, you know. You've got to be still doing something. Just because there's less to do doesn't mean you can be doing something. So here's some ideas. So branding for me is kind of getting stuff ready a lot of the time. So marketing is only 2 things: create stuff and get it out. Create stuff, get it out. And so branding for me is creating the stuff. So when I say branding, I mean creating the stuff to get out. So collateral in your terms. Building a strong base, getting everything ready, building a sales and marketing plan, having content, especially video. Now looking at all this stuff is research and development. Let's research our offerings. Let's survey our old customers and see what else they could buy off us. Research the market. What else is out there? Companies like Richard Branson does this well at Virgin, and Apple does this great. Mac does this. All those Apple, Mac, sorry, same one. Do it really well. Is market facing. What else does the market need? End user, particularly if you're a wholesaler going through distributors, what does the end user need? Wish list. What are the top 10 companies we'd love to work with? Who's in management there? How do they work? Who's servicing them at the moment? This is all stuff that you could be doing now. Setting up your sales and branding. So setting up a sales process where you've got KPIs and you've got templates to use. Setting up a new CRM, no time like now. Your website needs some attention. Your collateral, your quote templates, email templates, email signatures, getting all that stuff. It's like dressing up in a good suit to go for a job that's a little bit out of your pay grade, right? The better you can look, the better you're going to be going after that work that's a little bit past where you're at right now. So now's a good time to do that. Social networking and branding. Everyone's on LinkedIn at the moment because they're all working from home. So they're not doing site visits. They're not going to meetings. They're not doing water cooler talk. Now is the time to be getting well known and also developing some extra content so you don't have to scuffle around and do that later. Direct sales. Here's some things that you could be doing in terms of actual sales right now. Looking at fast turnaround items or online sales. Focusing on interstate or overseas if you can, if that's in your model. Building a massive quote funnel. My brick and block layer is just quoting the hell out of things. I've also got a couple of people in corporate. They're just quoting at the moment. Building your own product to sell. So being your own client. So if you're in manufacturing or importing, can you bring something in? and sell it online? Or can you bring something in and sell that within Facebook community group? Is there something that you can buy and sell that's going to make you almost your own client, if you like? Can you brand something and sell it? All that kind of stuff. And have a targeted on hold list. So what this means is, so I've got a client that deals with some very, very big corporate brands, and what they've developed is this on hold list. And so in their sales register, they've got pending, won, lost, and COVID. And COVID means those companies have told us they're on hold until COVID's done. The minute COVID's done, we've got this list of people to go to. So developing that on hold list is still valuable and something that we can do now. And creative incentives for early commitments from your A grade. So if you've got clients who you know might want stuff later, it's a bit like restaurants selling gift vouchers now. If you can get commitments from them now and they get a better deal because of that, or a value add or something, that might give you kind of some foresight of keeping people engaged with you long term. And the last idea now is to use this time to create alliances with professionals, and to find businesses that have the same interests as you. So if you imagine it like you're in the center of a wagon wheel and all your clients are outside, what are all the spokes that could connect you to your clients? What are businesses that don't compete with yours that you might want to make friends with over this time? You can build like a marketing plan that's based on all these different connections, and you guys in your industry should be connectors, should be hubs of where businesses go to find things out and be connected to other things. You should be helping them achieve their business and marketing plans. So who else does that you can partner with? You know, supply chain partners, distributorships, that kind of thing. Can we do alliances? So referrals, who can we do cross referrals with? Joint marketing. Have we got a printer that we're in with? Have we got a, I don't know, equipment that we're in partnership with? Who can we partner with and we can actually market together? We can put a flyer out together, or we can share the cost of a social media person, all those kind of things. And again, joint sales. Can we sell something of yours in our quote, and can you sell something of ours in your quote type thing? This is stuff that can all be set up now when everyone's more open to talking. On a more creative level, sharing staff between businesses, subleasing premises. If you're still operating in a warehouse, there's lots of space. So, but particularly sharing staff at the moment is, can you go halves in a contractor for marketing or something? You know, if you've got alliances that are in similar businesses but not competitors, you can be really creative with sharing costs. And host beneficiaries, which means giving a gift to a sideline business and them giving that to their clients as what we call a qualified introduction. So you might give an accountant a special upgrade on a particular item that they can give to all their clients as a get back into the marketplace kind of gift. And the accountant looks great, but you get a whole heap of clients. And lastly, it's a little bit like getting the branding done. Get your knowledge and time up to a level now so that you can build a network. So giving away your advice and your knowledge now while you've hopefully got time to do so is a great way to be building your network. Just to finish is my contact details. You can find me on LinkedIn. I do individual coaching, but it has to be right for both of us. So that involves a 1 hour kind of chat and discovery, I guess. But I also help with planning, or we do some group stuff as well at a lower price point. So I'm happy to chat to you about that. But I am also able to hang around either if you want to run a couple of questions, or if not, I'm happy to take things by email. Sometimes people get a bit private.
Thank you, Katherine, for that fantastic presentation. Now, if anyone does have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask Katherine your question. So as Katherine mentioned, we'll hang around for a little bit, just seeing if anything comes through. Seems like a quiet bunch today.
Yeah, that's okay. Like I said, if there's a private question that someone wants to ask, just shoot me an email or email Ida and she can get in touch with me. I'm going to turn off the share now as well.
Okay. Look, it doesn't appear anyone's going to ask a question. So like Katherine mentioned, feel free to send her an email. Otherwise, tomorrow I will send you a copy of today's recording, and I will attach Katherine's PowerPoint presentation, also along with her email address, so feel free to contact her. Thank you once again, Katherine. Like I said, it was a fantastic presentation, so thank you very much for offering this session to our members.
My pleasure, and I hope that it helps in some small way.
I'm sure it will. And on behalf of APPA and Katherine, I hope you all have a great afternoon.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Take care.